Hey VAT, Mr. Weezer here, and we are making a Snapchat geofilter. So, a couple things to learn in order to be able to be very successful with this project. We have the placement of the Snapchat filter is going to be very important because people are going to be using it to take pictures of people, places, things. So we don't want our design to take up so much of the room that they can't get a picture of their friends or themselves into the actual composition. We have to think about that. The other thing that's very important is whether you place the design or the words on the top, like in this one, or the bottom in this one, or on the sides in this example here. You can see in the template that I provided for you that there is a top buffer zone and a bottom buffer zone. It's a 149 pixel buffer zone that allows for different devices to have a little bit of wiggle room because of the way that each screen on each device is different. This area here at the top and the bottom might get cut off on certain phones and tablets and things, so we want to try to refrain from putting important information in those areas of the design while still making sure that our design goes, if needed, especially like designs on the sides, that it goes all the way to the end of to the top or to the bottom, but without putting important stuff that might get cut off in those areas. So what we're going to do today is we're going to learn a little bit about the text or the type tool, typing things like I'm just going to put like go, something very generic like go team to work with for now. And so if you are working with wolves, Trojans, gators, tigers, whatever, oh my, whatever you're working with, it doesn't really matter what the text is. I just want it to be whatever school that you go to, whatever your wherever you're trying to get this geofilter put, it has to be something kind of specific to the location while still being broad enough to that a lot of people would want to use it. So top three things to remember when trying to do this is we want something that looks good enough so people will want to use it. Two, we want it to be specific to that location, to a local location. And then we want to make sure that it's very readable if we're using text. So text, it can be manipulated the same way that your text can be in your homework assignments and things like that. With the selection tool, if I am to double click on my text, I can select one word at a time. If I triple click, it selects the entire line of text. At the top of your screen, you have a character option, and you can change the font really easily by just clicking on that. Once you have both of these things highlighted, it's really easy to hit the down or up arrow on your keyboard, or if you put your cursor right on top of the name of the font, you can scroll. This is a very visual way of changing the font. This is especially useful for people that don't know what fonts that they have on their computer, and just sometimes it's just nice to see what the font is going to look like. So as we scroll through, we can see the different fonts that are on the computer, and we got to pick one that's very readable, but at the same time speaks to the audience that is going to be using this. And if it's a sports team, we want to make sure that we pick out a nice bold font that is screaming go team. If it was for like a music department, maybe we could pick something a little bit more whimsical, and if it was for an art department, maybe we pick out something that's has a little bit of a texture or something. As long as everything is readable, I think we'll be good. If this is a sports thing and I use impact font, this is a very bold, high energy sort of font that could be used for a sports shout. We want to make sure that we put that below the buffer zone so that it won't get cut off on anybody's phone. We want to make sure that we place that either at the top or at the bottom of the page. We can adjust, like our homework, we can adjust some of the things, to this editable text, but at some point you're probably going to want to make sure that you create outlines on the text so you can treat it just like normal shapes. Some other options, though, before we get into that, there are some different type tools. If you click and hold the mouse button down on the type tool, you can see that there are some other things like type on a path and vertical type tools and things like that. So, for example, if you wanted to type on a path, you could use the pencil tool or the brush tool or even the line segment tool to make some sort of a path, or even using a shape tool, you could get, say, like a circle, and you could have a circle, or you could have just like a normal line. And those paths that we just created can be typed upon if we use the Type on a Path tool. Type on a Path tool, you just click on a path that exists and you can say go team on this path, and your writing will stay on that path. And just like normal text, you can click on it and you can increase the size of the text, you can change the font, things like that. Same thing with the circle. If you're using the Type on a Path tool, Type on a Path tool, you can click on this outside of the circle, because the circle is made with a path, and you can type on that circle. When you type on a circle, you also have the option to use the selection tool to move the text wherever you want it, and or still editable text. Anyways, I'm going to delete that. I'm going to go back to the original. So there's lots of different ways that you can type. There's even a vertical one that allows you to type vertically. Before I start to get into some of the nitty-gritty stuff, you can also feel free to, if you wanted to make this like a design that stays on the side, you could also turn it. I'm going to keep mine there. I'm going to create outlines because I want to do some other stuff to this. So I'm going to click on my text to highlight it. I'm going to right click and go to create outlines, or go up to the top where it says type, go to create outlines, or just hit Shift Control O to create outlines. Once the outlines are created, this is still grouped, which might benefit me because when I go to Effect, I can go to Stylize and I can put, say, like a drop shadow on here. If I hit the preview button, I'll be able to see what it's doing live, and then if I don't like, I can adjust the different drop shadows in this dialog box. I can also do things like 3D extrude and bevel, and hit the preview box and see kind of what that's looking like, and I can rotate. There are lots of different effects that we can apply, including warps, and when you have it grouped, it will warp the entire text together like this, and you can adjust how much warping is going on, and the different types of warps are all in there as well. If we were to ungroup this text and then try that same thing again, Effect, Warp, Arc, you'll notice that it works. Preview. We'll notice that it works a lot different because each one is ungrouped now. Each individual letters get warped on their own. They don't kind of get warped together as a sentence. Just get warped as individual letters, which could be kind of cool in its own right, but here I would have to maybe move some letters to make it more readable. Kind of spread out those things a little bit better. At any rate, I'm going to go back just a smidge, and I'm going to pick a color, a fill color. You could pick a fill color that is the color of the sports team that you're affiliated with, like your school colors and stuff like that. I don't want to get too into the, I think I have like the idea that things, in order to be school spirit, like you have to be like, it's like sports, but it doesn't have to be specific to a sport. It could be, this could be something for like music departments or art departments, or a specific type of sport or something, or for even like an event that's going to happen at some point, like the school musical or something like that. So a lot of different options here to play around with that. The other things that I wanted to show you, so I think the last thing that I'll show you in this video is, don't forget that we can also, like as seen in previous videos, we can adjust the individual anchor points. With the direct selection tool, we can click on individual anchor points and we can move those around. So we can definitely manipulate the text however we want to. And lastly, what we can do is one of the things I wanted to show you was in order to put a gradient on the text, I would then choose over here in the dock. There's a little gradient box, and that kind of, you can rip that off and you can apply a gradient to your text. Now, since these are ungrouped, it's putting a new gradient in each one of the letters. I would show you how that looks if you were to have these all grouped. Object group. If we apply the filter, the reason one of the things you can do is you can grab the gradient tool and just click and drag that, and that's going to apply the gradient across the entire slogan, like without it restarting on every letter. So it's a smoother sort of transition. I like to have, whenever I use gradients, I like to have them really subtle. So the longer you click and drag the gradient, this is the gradient tool, the longer you do that, the more subtle your gradient is going to be, and the shorter the line, the harder the gradient. So sometimes it's got a nice little shocking quick gradient, and sometimes I like to have majority of times I like to have like a really soft gradient, so it's not so noticeable, not so harsh. You can change the colors in the gradient too by double clicking on the little boxes. This is set to grayscale, so in order to get the colors I have to click this little tiny box right here and get the RGB or the CMYK. I'm going to be using this for Snapchat, so I'm RGB color mode because it's on the computer screen. So you can pick that there, and then a different color could be selected for the other color in your gradient bar. There's a nice little gradient, and then of course effects can be applied and all sorts of great stuff can happen here. This is just the first of a couple videos that we'll use using text. The next thing that I'll do, I'll probably apply some graphic elements to this text as well, so it's not just text floating on top of a photo. All right, thanks for watching.